Yes. When you go through the World Bank and find out each nation and the amounts that they owe, just want to consider doing a little world building. Yes. Well, it's similar to nation building. Have some effect on the actual citizens of every nation of the world. Easiest way might be able to just have a little baby that happens to be my genetics that is a citizen of both the United States and whatever nation that volunteers. Now, my phone is almost out of battery and quite possibly out of storage. I didn't look at it, but I'm thinking that it is. I just wanted to call the Department of Defense of the United States of America. In 1992, there was what was known as Los Angeles riots. Civilian law enforcement agencies were unable to cope with the widespread rioting and relied upon the National Guard and the federal troops to help restore order. You know, when you don't enforce the rights of citizens and you allow for them to lose their kids because of your fraud, coercion, corruption, and then you absolutely refuse to acknowledge that they should be in the right grade and it should be me that has custody of them. I think we have a different kind of rioting going on where police and sheriff's departments, judges, oaths, badges, attorneys, civil rights coordinators, mandatory reporters, and those that are superintendents of school districts are rioting against the enforcement of the laws. Now, they're doing that because of their silence. They wouldn't pick up the phone, they wouldn't call the police or sheriff's department saying, no, we can see the fraud. They didn't acknowledge the actual forgeries of the ex officials, all the false arrests and false imprisonments and the torments and tortures. And then I don't have any rental money, and you're going to deprive me of rental assistance. I did spend all afternoon out there selling cigarettes, and I got $5, which it took me an hour and a half. Yeah. And I pretty much got all my needs covered for the week except for rent for the room or victims' resources from that big fat check from the victims fund. Yeah. Could you send over a sheriff's deputy and pay me right now? Now, the Department of Defense, the primary responsibility, yes, is protecting my life, the life of my sons, the life of Marilyn and her kids, yes, and the lives of every American citizen. See, it's protecting life and property, maintaining law and order. Yes. In the civil community, is vested in the state and local governments. Now, wait a second here. According to the Department of Defense Directive, the primary responsibility, it's your responsibility, local government. Hmm. Now, I haven't seen any Army troops running through the streets of Port Angeles, but I was wondering what the Department of Defense is doing. Yes. Now, this federal government, known as the United States government, they have what's FEMA. Yes. Federal Emergency Management Agency. Yeah. We could be having a natural disaster, though it's a manufactured disaster. But it looks like the population is mutating and decided that they were not going to go the way of the Constitution of the United States. They were going to go the way of their top secret senior family way of doing things. Could you get me every employee of the Federal Emergency Management? Yes. What's their name? Federal Emergency It's an agency. You know, I'm going to want you to imprison every individual right now because we are having rioting on the part of sheriffs and police departments for refusing my rights as a father. Yes. Now, I put this in green for those in the Army. I understand most of your uniforms are green. Yeah. But I think that you are seriously unprepared to impose and administer martial law. But I'm going to need to have the directives from the U.S. Department of Defense, not just the military assistance for civil disturbances, known as the top secret come to find out family that wants to clone or fish twin each and every civilian. Give me every directive of the Department of Defense. Now, let's say you're there. You're one of these civil servants. You've sworn, yes, senior civil servants of the Department of Defense. I'm going to want every oath of every employee of the U.S. Department of Defense for the last, 60 years. Yes. That I can personally sue and have you put in prison for refusing right now. Because I will. Ooch. Now, you cannot use fraud to issue court orders. And for those that are employees of the Department of Defense, I'm going to read each of those directives. Yes. I'm going to hand them to my attorneys and I'm going to sue you right now. Okay. Because a recent presidential initiative, which reflects the administration's belief, that the nation is poorly prepared, to respond to the kinds of a non-traditional attack, envisioned in this article. Now, let's say we had an attack on the actual enforcement of the laws of the United States because, well, the police, the sheriffs, the judges, they all have dogs. They're twins that look like themselves, that they decided that they would use the judicial system to make up bullshit rules about how they were going to run the nation. Now, we do have actual laws, and I notice those are not being enforced. Yes. Let's look at this as a non-traditional attack envisioned in this article where I have verified the biological and chemical attack on the actual citizens of the United States. I've witnessed it. I've witnessed those that decide to put a lizard in their ass or make a dog that looked like their wife so